there, so good morning. So how close do I need to talk to this? Will that pick up?
Yeah, it should pick up. Yep.
Marshawn will help us, I'm sure. So
Yep.
thank you. Okay, well then you got that. And there's several things I'll do kind of to open it up. And
Okay.
then we'll get into the meat of it. How long have you been with Extension, Terry? I forget.
4.5.
It's been 4.5.
Yeah.
I was guessing at 3.
You did good. It goes by quicker than a person realizes.
It does. It really does.
Just had my performance review with Chris last Friday, so.
Oh, Chris Bondak is doing those?
Yeah, she has for the last couple of years.
Oh, I didn't realize
She may
that.
change. That might be, you know how that's kind of a changing process every now and then, but she does a nice job as far as, I mean, she's very sincere. And
Yeah, that's true. Okay, she said to wrap up at her.
27, is that what she said?
Whoops. I try to read my stuff. This is constantly in the way. I'm just not used to this. And I tell you.
I upped the font to 14, so at least I could maybe glance and read kind of a thing.
Oh. Well, that's one of the things to do what they do all day, or for the periods they have to. Wow, day after day. You gotta really work at that, I would think.
I would think so. I would think the first year of being...
Broadcasting on the cutting edge of technology, we are your digital radio station in the Cedar Valley and northeastern Iowa. You can't stop listening.
Stand by. Three, two, one.
Join us on the second Tuesday of each month at 10 o'clock a.m. for Information for Everyday Living, brought to you by Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, Black Hawk County. Learn how Iowa State University Extension and Outreach helps citizens every day. Good morning. My name is Bill Arndorfer, and I will be serving as host for today's program. I have been with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach for 14 years, and I'm currently serving as the regional director for the counties of Black Hawk, Grundy, Butler, Bremer, Buchanan, and Tama counties, which is also known in our world as Region 9. I serve as the link between Iowa State University, the elected county extension councils, and county extension staff. I provide leadership to help meet the program needs of the citizens who live within the 6 counties that I serve. And we do that jointly with our county offices that are located in every county in the state of Iowa. We are glad to be here each second Tuesday of the month and welcome our listeners to the program today for Information for Everyday Living. As I mentioned, accessibility is important to the success of our work. That is why there is an Iowa State University Extension and Outreach office in each county in the state of Iowa to best serve the needs of Iowans. The offices in Black Hawk County are located at 3420 University Avenue and also in the Dick Young Greenhouse, which is located on the campus of George Washington Carver Academy, which is at 1505 Logan Avenue. Other county offices that I serve are located in the following communities. For Grundy County, we have an office in Grundy Center, in Butler County in Allison, in Bremer County, Tripola, in Buchanan County, Independence, and in Tama County, Toledo. Iowa State University Extension and Outreach brings the research-based information from the university to the citizens of Iowa. We take the university's research and turn it into learning opportunities for Iowans. We deliver that information through 4 educational programs that are aligned with Iowa State University colleges. And they are Agricultural and Natural Resources, which is aligned with the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. We have Community and Economic Development, which is aligned with the College of Design. Human Sciences, which is formerly known as Families Programming, is aligned with the College of Human Sciences. And then our 4-H Youth Development Program in K-12 Outreach reaches across each of the colleges, which is located at Iowa State University. Again, we take university research and turn it into learning opportunities so that families make better nutrition choices, kids and teens explore interests that may lead to future careers, businesses can improve their bottom line, and local leaders can make their communities better places to live. Iowa State University Extension and Outreach promotes healthy people, healthy environments, and healthy economies. And with that, I'd like to just take a moment or two to touch on some upcoming programming that is available through the Black Hawk County Extension Office. On April 13th, we will have a food safety quality assurance training. This is for youth who are planning to show animals at the upcoming county fair. On April 15th, we have a Master Gardener Club meeting. On April 18th, we have the Juntos workshop at Hoover Middle School, and then it will be also on April 25th at Hawkeye Community College. From the week of April 18th to the 25th is Money Smart Week. There's a lot of activities that are planned at different institutions within our community, including at U.S. Bank, Operation Threshold, at University of Northern Iowa, the Waterloo Center for the Arts, and Cedar Falls Community Credit Union. On April 22nd, we have a SurfSafe class, and this is an 8-hour certification class that is provided for food service managers, and that program will be taught by Jill Weber, who is our Human Sciences, Nutrition, and Wellness Specialist, and that will be held at the Black Hawk County Extension and Outreach Office. Then on April 23rd, we have an all-staff meeting for the Region 9 group that I mentioned earlier. On April 28th, we have an Ag and Natural Resources program at noon, and that will be with our Urban Ag Specialist, Justin Edwards. On April 30th, we have the 4-H Fashion STEM Workshop, which will be held at the University of Northern Iowa, and that will be for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And then registration has already begun for our 4-H day camps coming up later this spring and early summer, as well as a Region 9 middle school camp. So for more information about these and other upcoming programs and events, I would encourage our listeners to check out the Black Hawk County Iowa State University Extension and Outreach homepage, which is located at www.extension.iastate.edu/Blackhawk. Well, our topic for today is the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. The Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy is a science and technology-based framework to assess and reduce nutrients to Iowa waters and the Gulf of Mexico. To help us better understand what that is all about is today's guest, Terry Basel. Terry is an Iowa State University Extension and Outreach field agronomist in Northeast Iowa. And Terry has been with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach for 4.5 years. And as we have our conversation today, we're going to learn why the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy is really important to everyone, regardless of where we live. So welcome, Terry.
Thanks, Bill.
Maybe you could start the conversation today by telling the listening audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, prior to working for ISU Extension, I worked as a retail agronomist for about 21 years, working for cooperatives within the Midwest. Right out of college, I worked in the Red River Valley for about 3 to 4 years up in North Dakota, and then moved to Central South Dakota for about roughly a little over 10 years. And then just recently, before I started with Extension, I worked in Milford, Iowa, and worked for the company that is now called the Andersons. It was the Great Lakes Cooperative when I had initially started with them. And so due to my past field experience that I've had, my primary focus areas are soil fertility, herbicide, weed management, integrated pest management, corn and soybean management, small grains, tillage systems, and integrated crop management, just to name a few things that I do for a day.
Okay, and those are, like you said, those are some of the areas of your focus and or expertise. So that lends it's very well to the topic that we have today with the nutrient reduction strategy. Really, before we get into all of that, so far you've been with Extension for 4.5 years. You had worked in industry part of that. So at this point in your career, what do you like about working for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach?
Well, for one, I am really blessed to work with great people. I enjoy working for Extension and being able to work with the great farmers of Iowa and to be able to help them make decisions with research-based, unbiased information to help them with their challenging situations that they handle, that they have to deal with every day. Another thing that I'm really fortunate, and another reason I really like working for Extension, is the wonderful and great colleagues and people within Extension that I'm able to touch shoulders with, brush, and work with. We support each other and collaborate with one another, which really enables us to share our knowledge and strengths with one another, and that helps increase the greater good of the Iowa agriculture as a whole. Really do enjoy that. Also enjoy the variety of work that we do. You know, every day isn't the same thing. We're not putting the same bolt in the same hole, kind of a thing. One day might be part of a meeting, the next day might be helping a producer with a challenge that they have in their field, or could be working on a program to help producers and agribusinesses, or within colleagues helping them with something. So it's a really very rewarding place to work.
Okay, great. Thank you, Terry. And one of the things that you mentioned about it are the people that you work with and the people that you serve. And really, that's what Iowa State University Extension and Outreach is all about, is about the people and helping them to help them meet their needs and their goals, and to help provide information to them that will improve their lives. So that's great. That makes that a great fit. Well, today's topic we've talked about is going to be the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. If you would, Terry, give us a little bit of background on that, what it is and why it came to be.
Well, Bill, you kind of touched on it earlier when you kind of introduced it. It's a science and technology-based approach to help assess and reduce nutrients delivered to Iowa waterways and the Gulf of Mexico. And it's designed to direct efforts to reduce those nutrients in surface water from both point sources, such as wastewater treatment plants and industrial facilities, and non-point sources, and those include farm fields and urban areas, in a scientific, reasonable, and cost-effective manner. It's a voluntary science-based program to help reduce the nitrogen and phosphorus impact on the water, as well as it includes cities, industry, and agriculture. It's also a practice-based approach to help show meaningful and measurable progress, and a framework for innovation and verification of new practices and technologies. So it basically encompasses the whole state of Iowa.
Okay. So specifically, and I think you've touched on it there in your explanation, but if you would, what particular issue does it address? You mentioned the Gulf of Mexico, you talked about surface waters.
It particularly addresses the reduction of nitrogen and phosphorus, the reduction of that into the surface waters or into the waters, downstream waters, to the Gulf of Mexico. The goal is to reduce it by 45%.
Okay. And what's the problem down in the Gulf of Mexico?
What happens is that the Gulf of Mexico has an area that they call the hypoxic or dead zone, and that is due to the nutrients making their way down there and in excessive volumes, and which then helps or encourages algae growth. And because of that, it depletes the oxygen source in the water. And so without oxygen, fish can't live, and other forms of marine life. And so it's basically a dead zone. There's nothing within that area. And so our goal is to help reduce that to the point where we can start getting that back again, and that area becomes back to the way it was.
It becomes productive again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so really that requires not only Iowa, but all the states along the Mississippi River to do their part in trying to help reduce some of that runoff of nitrogen and phosphorus to help improve the conditions at the end of the river, so to speak.
Exactly. There's actually 12 states that are involved in their form of a nutrient reduction strategy on reducing nitrogen and phosphorus runoff from their states into downstream waters.
Okay.
Iowa was the very first state that took the lead on the development of a strategy plan to put together and implement.
Okay. So is this just an Iowa State University Extension initiative, or are there other partners involved? And I think you actually have kind of touched on that, but if you would maybe give us a little more detail there.
Sure, Bill. Iowa State is one of 3 partners, and on average, that were involved in the development of the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. Initially, it was led by IDALS, which is the Iowa Department of Land and Stewardship, and Iowa Department of Natural Resources, with input from point and non-point source stakeholders who make the investments to reach the goal. The science assessment that was conducted was led by Iowa State University, and along with scientists from IDALS, Iowa Department of Natural Resources, USDA, and NRCS, and a few other institutions as well. So it was one of the very first programs that was put together that was a positive, effective way of everybody working together.
Okay. And it's a voluntary effort, I believe you said. So we do need all the partners working together, as well as our producers. It really does take everybody to be engaged. Okay. So we're going to take a short break here, and then we'll come back and we'll continue our conversation with Terry.
That's how much my husband drinks.
That's done pretty well so far.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything, additional questions or anything that you want to be sure we cover before we get to the end, or I'll just, otherwise I'm just going to keep rolling down.
No, you're fine. I would say I'll slow down.
He has a couple of drinks at home at dinner and a few more while we watch TV.
I like the one that's important for both people that are listening. Because you know, it impacts everybody. It's not just the farmers out there.
Right, and that's really the point I want people to know. Why would they have an interest? They're not on the farm. So, I did put a note to the side, and whether it's relevant, we'll kind of see how we're doing on time, but maybe touch on cover crops or whatever.
Okay.
Stand by.
You'll learn at an Al-Anon family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, and we're back with our conversation with Terry, talking about the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. And Terry, one of the questions that certainly would be on our listeners' mind is, why would knowing about the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy be important to both those who live in town as well as those who live on the farm? Why would it matter?
That's a great question, Bill. This is a strategy that impacts all the citizens of Iowa, or the whole state. For those of us that live in town, our city wastewater treatment plants and industrial facilities are under scrutiny to reduce nitrogen and phosphorus loads into downstream waters, just as much as farmers are for reducing nitrogen and phosphorus as non-point sources. Non-point source also includes the urban areas, such as lawns and gardens of individual homeowners.
Okay. So, to follow up with that question, for those who live in town, are there any practices that they can adopt to help reduce nitrogen and phosphorus runoff? You know, we're into the spring season, people are starting to apply their fertilizer this spring so they get that lush green grass. Are there some strategies that they can follow to help reduce runoff?
Yes, there certainly are. One thing to do would be limit your fertilizer applications to unless you absolutely need it for your lawn. Make sure that if you're using a fertilizer that you don't use any phosphorus source. There's been a law that was passed not too long ago that inhibits you or prohibits us from applying any phosphorus fertilizers that contain phosphorus on our lawns. So if you look on the numbers of an analysis for your fertilizer bag in the store, the first number is nitrogen, the second one is phosphorus, and the third one is potash. And so you want to make sure that middle number is 0, so that you apply that type of a fertilizer. Some things that can help would be a rain garden with native plants and perennials and things like that, because that helps take the rainwater, absorbs it, and then it processes it and keeps us from having that nitrate going down into our storm sewers and things like that. Soil testing is another good method to make sure, if you can, to soil test your lawn to see what you need and how much you need, and then apply properly from that point. Make sure that when you're looking at application of water your lawn after fertilizing, but don't allow the water to run off into streets or lakes. Any fertilizer spilled on roads or sidewalks, make sure that you clean that up. Never apply fertilizer to frozen ground because it can run right off with a strong rain or something like that early in the spring. Clippings not left on lawns, leaves, and other plant debris should be removed as soon as possible from street gutters, sidewalks, and driveways. The plant material can be composted, used in the garden as mulch, disposed of through appropriate community services. When mowing lawns, do not direct clippings into the street or lake. Aerate the compacted areas in your lawn or high thatch lawns to promote better water infiltration, which then of course helps reduce the runoff and infiltrates through the soil like we want it to. So those are just a few things that I can think of.
Okay, yeah, so a lot of good tips there. You know, the rain garden serving as a filter to help remove some of the nutrients. I like your idea of the soil test so we know exactly what we need, and then we can apply according to what the recommendation is for that. Avoiding runoff and cleaning up spills, anything that goes onto the sidewalk or onto the street. If it's not cleaned up, that ends up going into the storm sewer, and that's directly into our rivers and lakes. So, Terry, I think there's a lot of great suggestions there for our homeowners. Now, what are some of the practices or strategies that are suggested to help reduce nitrogen and phosphorus runoff on the agricultural lands?
Well, that's a great question as well, Bill. And there's a publication put together called Reducing Nutrient Loss. Science Shows What Works. If you go to the Extension Publication store, in the upper right hand corner you can type in S as in Sam, P as in Paul, 435, and that will take you right to the page where this can be downloaded on your computer or printed right out from that. Within it contains practices that farmers can implement on their land for both helping reduce nitrogen and phosphorus runoff. When you look at nitrogen, some of the things that help with that, number one, cover crops have been in the public eye for the last couple of years, and one of the reasons is because it's one of those unique practices that can both help reduce nitrogen and phosphorus runoff. Phosphorus is primarily, we lose phosphorus through surface runoff, and those cover crops really help catch that and prohibit that from getting into the water source. If we look at what the contribution of cover crops can do, we look at rye, we can reduce nitrogen runoff by about 31%. and phosphorus by about 29%. So it's really a nice practice to implement along with other practices to try to help make up as much as we can. One particular practice is not likely going to be able to reduce both nitrogen and phosphorus like cover crops. Other practices are going to help address the reduction of one or the other nutrient. But another thing that helps is that has been in the public eye are bioreactors. They're limited because there's only so many acres that they can help work with, but they can reduce up to 43% reduction in nitrogen.
And Terry, not to interrupt, but could you explain what a bioreactor is for those who may not be familiar with that?
A bioreactor is about, think of a football field, but a little bit smaller than that. It's about it's a square construction that has wood chips in it, and so on average 40 to 80 acres, somewhere in that neck of the woods, drains into that through the tile line, and then the water infiltrates those wood chips, and the microbes within those wood chips take that nitrate, turn it into a gas, and release it into the atmosphere, which is atmospheric nitrogen that we would be breathing anyway. And so in a nice natural way of doing it, it helps reduce the nitrogen from that. And then there's a bypass that goes across through that as well, because there's during the peak times there's more than what we can infiltrate through the bioreactor. Okay. And then it goes through its natural course of the waterway from there.
Okay, so it acts as a filter kind of in its purest
Yep,
thought.
kind of a filter, yep.
Okay, great, thank you. So Terry, what resources are available for our listeners who would like to learn more about the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy? I know you talked about the one publication there. Are there some resources through Iowa State that they could also go to?
There are some websites that have been very helpful for people. One is called the cleanwateriowa.org website. Another one is the Extension Water Quality webpage that has just been put up not too long ago. Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy webpage, and then as well as within that the Iowa Nutrient Research Center, and they give a lot of good information as far as some of the practices that they're looking at, the new research, and everything that's being conducted within that. So a lot of really good information to be able to find.
Okay, so a lot of resources through Iowa State, and some of it specifically dedicated to increasing the knowledge about the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. So again, we really want to encourage our listeners to take a look at those sites if they're interested in learning more about that. Terry, with that, any closing thoughts regarding the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy, or anything else at this point that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I'm just kind of thinking it's spring, and farmers are getting geared up for planting, and spring planting is a very busy season, so make sure to be safe. Step back and take an extra breath every now and then to help make sure that there's a less of a chance for accidents to happen. We can repair, fix, and replace metal, but we can't replace our loved ones or others that work in the farming operation. So that, to me, that's the most important for this time of the year.
Okay, and I think we make that same appeal to our homeowners, those who are going to be dealing with lawn mowers and tillage equipment in their gardens and all that kind of stuff.
Very good point, Bill.
That we need to be practicing safety when we're using our tools at home as well. So I appreciate those tips, Terry, and I think that's very helpful. So with that, again, I want to thank you, Terry, for taking time to be with us today to talk about the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. I think there's a lot of good information that you shared, and I hope that for our listeners that at least provides some background in why they might want to be interested and watch that whole strategy unfold. And again, we want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us this morning. If you have any questions for us, we do invite you to call us at the Blackhawk County Extension Office at 319-234-6811, or in any of the other county offices. We do have offices in each county in the state of Iowa, so feel free to visit those, or our website at www.extension.iastate.edu/Blackhawk. And again, join us next month as we again bring you information for everyday living from Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. So until next time, this is Bill Arndorfer saying thank you for listening and have a great day.